Hello, everybody, and welcome to Google Plus Business Spotlight. I'm your host, Stepan Hovnanian, and every week we bring in business owners from around Google Plus to tell us how it's working for them and their business, and to also share some tips and strategies and just experiences that you might be able to use for yourself. So before I introduce my amazing guest for today, I want to just remind everybody to go check out the Google Plus for Small Business community here. We're a great group of people that are really heavily vested in just helping each other out. It's not a lot of spam, there's a lot of people that talk about pages and local and other things related to business and Google Plus. So that's the Google Plus for Small Business community. Go check it out, and thank you for that. Also, I am instituting, as of today, a new hashtag for the show. So it's hashtag GPlus Spotlight. And I'm going to start here on after, do a little bit better job tracking that so that we can expand the reach of the show. So anybody who's into hashtagging, please try whenever you can to use G plus Spotlight as a hashtag for the show. I would really appreciate it. And I guess at that point, without further ado, let me introduce my guest, Charlotte Pierce of Pierce Press. She's an independent publisher and has a lot of really interesting things to talk about related to how she uses Google Plus for her business. So at this point, I'm just going to turn it over to you, Charlotte. Welcome.
Well, thank you. It's really a pleasure to be on your show. I've been following it, and I like the short format, and the people you've had on, I've learned a lot from them. So hopefully I can provide some insight on using Google Plus for publishing and integrating it with other platforms that you might be using, like your blog and your website. But I am, as Stefan said, an independent publisher. I've been in the business for, since I lived in Seattle in the 80s. So I was in magazine publishing, and then I moved into book publishing after a stint of freelancing. I have a series of family activity guides called the Day Tripper Guides. Used to be called the Complete Day Tripper. EAT is the spelling, but we decided that was too confusing for people. But so I published that. I've just taken on another project, a children's early reader series, and also the Pedagogy handbook project, which is a new method. We've consolidated some techniques on learning with a group of peers. Some pretty good response on that, and that's also published under Pierce Press. I'm also a really important component of my business, and I'm integrating it into Google Plus, is the Independent Publishers of New England, which is the trade organization that I'm involved in. And I was a board member. I'm currently, again, a board member and a secretary of the board. It's a nonprofit organization that supports self-publishers, independent authors, and small publishers. So we have people that have anywhere from 1 to 30 books on their list. And it's been, I get involved because, partly for my own self-interest, I learned so much by just being involved in the conferences, running seminars and workshops on things that I know, and then other people do the same. There's always people I can call for specific questions on publishing, like, do I need a separate ISBN for my ebook? And the answer is yes, you do. But it's just a great resource, and that is, it really, the kind of mission of the Independent Publishers of New England meshes well with Google Plus, because it's kind of like paying it forward. So many people, yourself included, Stefan, have just put themselves out there for me and for Ibn on Google Plus without expectation of return, and I'm sure I know it comes back if you do things like that. That's one of my biggest attractions to Google Plus. I haven't found on any other platform. So
that's awesome. So so let me ask you a question. So you work a lot with authors and self-published people, I assume, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. So I guess let's talk a little bit about how how the platform itself, like how Google Plus is a platform, really lends itself well to, to authors, to publishers, people who
Mm-hmm.
need to get out there and market their books or just build rapport and build reputations and all. I mean, what are you guys doing, whether it's at Ipni or with the Pedagogy handbook that you're working
Mm-hmm.
on, like these different projects? And tell me a little bit about
Right.
how you guys have seen that work.
Right. It's sort of subtle in a way. You have to lead with your interests and passions, I think, on Google Plus. You have to go in there saying, boy, they're saying something really cool about children's books, about formatting, about publishing them. And so you wade in and you say, well, would you like to come on my show, or, just develop a rapport with them. And pretty soon you have somebody who's genuinely interested in what you're doing. And they'll look at your profile, find the links that you've put on there. I'd recommend everybody really regularly go back to their profile, make sure all the links are in order. Another thing I've done is I've taken some of my categories of what I do and made different pages on Google Plus for them, because that helps me organize it in my mind. I know some people like you, maybe you might have a business page, but you mostly do things under your own name. And I do too. I kind of go back and forth and sort of try and bring my pages up in visibility along with my personal profile. But that's kind of helps me organize it in my mind. I've also started, Face the Book is my author and indie author and publisher interview program. So that starts tomorrow night, actually.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. We hope we've got a lot of interest. And what we're
Actually, can I interject real quick?
Yeah.
So because I want to support everybody else who's hosting shows, and also if somebody's interested in Face the Book, or how do they hook up with you on that?
All right. Well, I have the book page and or the show page. It's a business profile page on Google Plus, and on that page is a form, a Google. It's actually I talk like a Google fangirl. I use so much of their stuff. But,
they make it easy.
Oh, I know. It's all integrated. So there's a form that you can fill out, an information form, and it's all secure. We don't share any of the information. And then we'll know a little bit about you and your book, your efforts. You could be a reviewer, you could be an agent, you could be a huge publisher. We want to talk to people who are in the industry and who are thinking about getting into the industry. So we want suggestions about show topics too.
Oh, cool.
And we want people to come on and read excerpts from their books. Just
awesome.
show. I really want to. There's like this ocean of awesome, wonderful writing out there, and a lot of it will never see the light of day because people, they don't want to, or they can't comprehend what it takes to rise above the noise. And David Amerlin's signal to noise ratio concept, but that's what we'd like to do with Facebook and with Ipni too, in a more structure, business structure way. They help people surface their awesome writing. I think it will advance society, make the world better.
One big advantage of being on a hangout show is obviously the exposure. So, hopefully, as kind of let's take some of the things that you've said so far. So, if this is your gig, so then you find ways to connect with people, build relationships with them. Most likely, you're doing that in comments on their posts, and hopefully that they come back on your posts. And in the meantime, you've set up your profile, or whether it's your page or your profile, you've set up that About tab so that it tells everybody a lot about you and directs people to different links and all. So when they check you out, they can they get a good sense of what you're all about, and hopefully add you to your circles or whatever.
Yep.
And then take things to the next level would be to find yourself on a show that has a lot of interaction, a lot of activity, and just kind of boost your exposure out there. And obviously, these things all sit on YouTube forever, well, until somebody wants to take them down. But I mean,
it was amazing. Like I had one author who was on my Facebook, found me on Facebook because we had started our Ibn page over there, and so we connected, and then I brought him over here, and he's going to come on the show. You know, he's like, oh, the relating to the YouTube videos, he went and looked at a bunch from Facebook because we started in our community media station. That's where I received my training in video production, and not that it helps me that much in Hangouts, but you know, and so he looked at some of the old shows and he said, wow, this is just great. You know, how do I get on your show? So, you know, that was really nice to see that effort had some legs, because it was an extreme effort. Hangouts is not quite as extreme as the production that we were doing at the community media station.
I can imagine. Yeah, this is pretty straightforward. But in fact,
I mean, for all our troubles, it's not that hard. You know, you just kind of practice.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting how. I want to talk real quick about those the pages that you have set up, because this is a topic that comes up a lot, especially when you're not in a corporate setting, and there's a reason to have like a company page. So, you know, this idea of pages or niche pages or topical pages or whatever. You know, do you tell me a little bit about how you boost the audience for those as well, because it's, you know, instead of just your profile.
Right, and I think Google does put some restrictions on pages because they don't want people coming up with a lot of spammy, you know, pages. That's kind of those, I don't know, what's the image, just sort of the wolves are sort of always at the door, you know, ready to find a chink in the armor and come in and just mess it up for people. But the pages, I'll go on to a topic and I'll often forget that I'm in my page profile. But you know, it's pretty clear after you start typing that your page profile picture is up there, and that's what you're representing yourself as. So I will often put my name in there. I'll plus mention myself. So you just put a little plus before your name, and then people can go to my personal profile and vet me that way. They can also see that I've posted, you know, significant content as a person as well. So I try and kind of, where it's allowed, like in some communities, they don't want you posting as a page, and it's specifically stated in the guidelines. So you want to make sure when you go to a community as a page profile that you aren't violating their guidelines. But I kind of go back and forth, and you know, I refer to my page, and not too much, but you know, I'm kind of mindful of bringing it up in visibility along with my personal profile. But yeah, and another thing I wanted to mention was communities. I've started a number of communities, and those are awesome for just, you know, mining for, and I mean that in a good way, for content, contacting people, giving them a venue to talk about their stuff. And I'm pretty relaxed about whether they can put links in and stuff, you know, promote their own events. I think that informs me just as much as my own events. I don't, you know, I try to be pretty liberal about that. We have the independent publishing community, and I have a number of other communities, but kind of.
So how do you draw attention to those as well? Do you share from your profile out to the community, or are there other techniques and tricks that you use? We're kind of moved in now. We've all moved into the tips section of the
tips section,
the discussion.
Right? Well, I've gone on to I've searched Google communities for ones that I feel are, you know, relevant to my interests and my business, and I've joined those. Some are application memberships. Some are private. Some are just open, and so I go on those, and I find content that I think is relevant to the independent publishing community, or Facebook, or another circle that I have on my profile, and I'll share that in, add my value to it, or my take on it. I think that's one thing I learned early on, is always when you're sharing a link, make sure that you give your own interpretation, tell people why they should click on that link. Because there's nothing worse than kind of getting an obscure link and, you know, just being annoyed that it's in your way. So
Right, just wondering what's in it for me. Why am I going to waste my time on this?
So but there's tons of stuff out there that's, you know, you don't have to come up with it all yourself. It's, at least in the beginning, that's recommended, you know, to share other people's stuff and put it through your own filter and tell people why they should.
So you use some of the communities you use for, let's say, discovery, and some of them you use for broadcasting. Does that sound right?
Yeah, and I try and be very respectful of their guidelines, because it's so easy to lose trust, and it's so hard to gain it back, you know.
That's true. That's very true. And I like the idea of, I have a couple of communities. One of them, what do you call it? The Strategic Social Networking Community, I think is the name of it. It's a very, very active community in terms of posts. Like there's a ton of volume in there. It's got a ton of members too, but I still like it. It's not like my style of community, but one of the things I like about it is, like you said, there's a ton of very good information that gets put in there. Yeah. And there are links. Some of them are just, you know, some of them are empty shares, which in most communities would be considered spam. But you know, but they're a little more open about that stuff, and as a result, I don't have to go to places like Twitter or you know, RSS feeds to find these resources for me to, you know, for around social media. And I would encourage people to try and find a couple of communities like that. Now, maybe you aren't participating within them directly, but you're using them as for listening, for reading, and knowledge.
Role models, and like, I'm sort of a science wannabe, sort of, you know, quasi-geek type person. And so I found Science on Google Plus, which is a community of 200,000 members. Unbelievable. And this guy, Chris Robinson, he runs Hangouts for scientists. He's just, I'm going to recommend him as the 31 people, like we're all doing these, you know, finding people. I think I'm going to recommend him because he's got an identifiable format. You can do a poster on your scientific research. You know, it just uses the best parts of Hangouts, and it's totally about science. You know, I have learned.
That's awesome.
You know, so just learning how somebody else does things, even if it isn't in your own area, is one of the just extreme values of Google Plus.
Yeah, that's a good point. Really good point. It's, you know, this place isn't all for tech and, you know, SEO and marketing. By the way, everybody. I mean, a lot of that's for me. That's what I like. But there's also gosh, there's a bunch of humor stuff. The nice thing about communities. Now, do you have the setting? There's a setting that you can show the community posts on your profile or not. Do you have a preference to that?
I've been playing with that a little bit. I was on this one, Nature, and I just got a bunch of cat pictures, which I love cats, but you know, so I shut that one down. I just thought, at first I thought it would be, you know, interesting, unusual nature photos, but so I've been playing with it a little bit. I dial up and down depending on what I'm working on at the moment. If I see a lot of trashy, I hate, can I say this? I hate animated GIFs. Hate them.
Well, you just said it.
I mute them every time I see them. No, I mean, there's some I don't, but I shouldn't be so extreme. But there's nothing worse than going to your home stream and seeing like all this stuff jumping around. So I mute those sometimes. But
that's a good point. Yeah, that's another tip is that for those of you who don't know, if you are into using your home stream, you can actually select both circles and communities. You can adjust the volume of those onto your home stream. So, you know, if you have certain communities you want to see less of or nothing of, you just want to go to them directly, you can uncheck the box that says show them on my home stream. And you do that by going to the community itself. There's a little settings cog, and you'd click on that and check off the box. The same would go for circles. So you'd navigate to that circle.
If you see somebody that's posting trashy stuff too often, you can remove them from your circles or mute them depending on what you do. But I don't know what our time is like, but
Oh no, I mean we're
yeah.
I try and keep these around 20 minutes, but I've also been toying with the idea of maybe extending it a little longer, doing a little more audience participation. So while we're at that, and since we're at that point,
Mm-hmm.
let's just let's bring up a couple of I'm not using the comment tracker today, but I do want to give a couple of shout outs to Steady Demand out in the audience today. Thank you. Hi Ben.
Yay, steady
Um,
demand.
yeah, definitely check those guys out because they have a lot of cool analytics and insights
Mm-hmm.
about your profile and your posting. Um, Joe Ray has a great point about finding higher interaction when he posts into communities first, and versus sharing to your own circles. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
a big thing about communities being more topical, being more niche. You can build those relationships better. So why not start your journey on Google
Mm-hmm.
Plus there, and hopefully as more and more people find their way
Yeah.
over to your profile. I mean, I think the one big thing you said in the beginning, which I want to emphasize again, make sure that your about section is really fine-tuned and go back to it periodically. Spend some time on that. It's a beautiful piece of real estate for us, whether you're a page or a profile,
Yeah.
to give people a lot of good information about you and links
And
to
I've
your
seen
stuff and
people, I've
whatnot.
seen the results of people actually going to that and checking it out and coming back to me with information that they found there. So,
Yeah.
people do it.
Oh yeah, I picked up a client that way. Somebody
Yeah.
said that they hovered over my name, they went to my about page, and they saw that I have a training link, and clicked on it and called
Yeah.
me up and said, "Hey, we want to do some training." And
Mhm.
so yeah, it works. It's
I just
firsthand
wanted to mention
experience.
too, with the, I think a lot of people out there might have the same problem I do with a group of colleagues from another life, so to speak. Um, just trying to get people to come over to use the platform can be tricky. And we have the board of independent publishers of New England is kind of half on and half off Google. Some of them are kind of in the middle area where they kind of know what to do, but they can't find the Hangout or something. And I know when you aren't recording a Hangout, you can actually add someone by phone. So that's how we had our last board meeting. And then through that process, people could see that the people who were on the Hangout on video were having a better experience. So I've had several requests to tutor people on the board to use Hangouts. So
That's a great point. Yeah, and don't forget you can do that, everybody. You can bring
yeah.
people in by phone. That was a few months ago they rolled that out. So it's a
Yeah,
phenomenal.
you can't do it if you're recording a show, though.
Yeah, right. It's almost like a conference call line.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's up to,
And
I
you can
think
add
that's the one.
several people. We added 5 people by phone. So
Wow. And that's this, you still have the same number of 9, right? 9 or 10?
I think it's, yeah, the same number of participants as 10. Yeah.
That's cool.
But
Well, that's a lot of good tips here. So, before we wrap up, is there any shout outs or big projects or anything you got going on? Tell us what's going on, how we can
Right.
how we can find you.
Well, you can find me, my website is being redesigned, but let's see, I'm going to do, can you do my screen share? I'll show you the Ipney website.
Sure.
But my Pierce Press site is being redesigned. So it will be piercepress.com when it's ready. There you go.
There we go. Cool.
And
Good resource for everybody to check out, even if you're not in New England.
Right, and we are an affiliate of Independent Book Publishers Association, which is the national association. We even have some Canadian members. So you get a discount to join the national one, and if you're an Ipney member, and the same with the other affiliates. So if you're in California, there's an awesome IBPA affiliate in the Bay Area. But we have our book awards coming up. The entries are due to at the end of February. So you can go to ipne.org is the website and apply for those. It's our first ever book awards.
That's exciting.
And yeah, so it's a good chance to get a credential for your book that you have. And we're not trying to exploit the awards to just make money. It's to actually give our members a chance to promote their books and to get recognized. But this is the cool thing that I did. I took the embed code from our last office hours, and I put it in the web page, the Ebook web page, and then people could go to our website and watch. Now, this may be something you do or don't want to do, depending on if you want to get people away from from the Google Plus, or if you want, Anyway, I think it does actually lead people on to more engagement in the website and stuff. So
I would agree, and don't forget also that if you have a show and you have people that are that you have guests, like I would encourage you, Charlotte, as well, when you get your site up or just whatever, to those of us who have shows or those of us who are participating in Hangouts, these are YouTube videos, so you can embed them, you can create playlists for yourselves. So as we're kind of circling back to being authors or publishers, trying to get the word out about themselves using Google Plus. Think about the fact that you can create a playlist of your on YouTube of the times that you've been a guest on an HOA. Or you could, and then again, embed those videos, or maybe embed parts of them or whatever, and really just try and use the platform to try and market yourself a little bit more as much as you can. And obviously, being able to get those face-to-face relationships is one of the biggest benefits of Google Plus. People see who you are, see what you're really about, and for authors trying to make connections with people, like you said in the beginning, it's a really powerful tool. So I would encourage anybody who's in the publishing or or writing business to start thinking about using HOAs as part of your part of your marketing process. Plus, honestly, we've gotten through like about a half a dozen things that you could easily write up into a great little blog post. There's a lot of good content that comes out in conversation.
Yes.
And some so.
Just talk it out.
Yeah, just talk it out.
Yeah, and the other thing, if people are watching, Face the Book TV is the page on Google Plus. If you go there, you can find links to all of the stuff that I do. Also, Charlotte Pierce is my profile, so that
Sweet.
Also leads to it.
Well, thanks so much, Charlotte. I really appreciate you coming on today and giving us a whole bunch of different insights on how we can use Google Plus, especially if we're self-published or in the in the author business, writing business, but even just regular people. I mean, I think there's a lot of good information that we can get out of today's interview. So I want to thank you again, and I guess at this point we're gonna wrap things up. I hope this little extra bit helped everybody. Leave some notes in the comments, either now or later. Would love to learn a little bit more about how you feel this slightly more expanded view of the show went. And don't forget to use hashtag GPlus Spotlight whenever you can, and check out the Google Plus for Small Business community. So that's it for this week, and I look forward to seeing everybody next week at Google Plus Business Spotlight. Thanks again.
Thanks.